want to. You want to be a rabbi.
Yeah. Now that's a good question. Good evening. Welcome. For those that are watching on YouTube or Facebook, as always, please, you're welcome to ask questions through the live chat. You could comment, share the video. We'll try to address it. If you're watching it on the replay, you could leave comments there as well, and we'll try to answer them. Today's class is taking place in Uptown, Chabad of Uptown, synagogue free. If you're in the area, you could come by and join us in person. There's even great refreshments and wonderful people here. Today's topic is, can you really change? Everyone knows that we have to change in some form or other. Can we? Is it really possible? Could we? And more than that, how could we really do it? People say, that's my personality, that's who I am. And I'll give you the answer to this question a little bit later. They tell the joke about a fellow who was arrested for shoplifting. He's standing in front of the judge, and the judge says, "What did you steal?" He said, "A can of peaches." Can of peaches. How many peaches were in the can? He said 6. So he lifts up the gavel, and he's about to hit it. He said, "I'm going to sentence you to 6 days in jail, 1 for each peach." So all of a sudden, a hand is frantically waving in the back. He says, "Yes, you have something to say, madam?" He says, "Yeah, I'm his wife. He also stole a can of corn." We have an interesting mitzvah, which is very unique. It's different than any other mitzvah. And that's called Sfiras HaOmer, counting of the Omer. It's a mitzvah to count between Pesach and Shavuos. Every night we count how many days from the Omer. So we start as the first day, then it becomes the second, and so on and so on. On the 49th night, it's the final count, because the next day is Shavuos. It's the holiday when we celebrate receiving of the Torah. What's this Omer? The Omer is an offering that we brought in the temple from the first produce, it was barley, and they brought it on the second day of Pesach. So we count from that day 49 days until we're going to receive the Torah. It's a very interesting mitzvah because this mitzvah is one block of mitzvahs. We always say that in Yiddishkeit, in Judaism, we don't look at mitzvahs as all or nothing. We don't say, if you're going to keep Shabbos and kosher and tefillin and do everything you're supposed to do, then it's worth it. But if you're going to do just one mitzvah, then what's the point if I'm not doing other things? God forbid. We don't say that. We say that every mitzvah matters on its own. Every mitzvah is a connection between the Jew and Hashem. And every time you do something, it's valuable. Whether a person did everything or some stuff, or even if he did something wrong before, something wrong after, even if it's a one-time thing, it's still very valuable. And it's still a connection. It's a mitzvah between us and Hashem. Which explains a question that many ask about the Rebbe's mitzvah campaigns. To stand outside and ask passerbys if you're Jewish, and they'll put on tefillin. One time putting on tefillin. What's the value if you never put on tefillin before, then never put on tefillin after that? But the reality is that every mitzvah on its own is valuable. That's what we generally say. But when it comes to this mitzvah of Sfiras HaOmer, of counting the Omer, for some reason it becomes this block of a mitzvah that we count from the beginning with a blessing, and every single night you have to count. If you miss a night, then if you remember the next day, so count during the day without a blessing. And the next night you could resume counting. But if you completely forgot, then for the duration of the count, you don't say the blessing. There's something about this mitzvah which is different. You say, you got to count 49. If you don't count 49, then it's not the same. That's question number one. Question number two. What are we really counting here? We're counting in anticipation to receive the Torah. Okay, we know that between Pesach and Shavuos there are 49 days from the second day of Pesach. On the 50th, we're going to receive the Torah. So we're preparing ourselves to receive the Torah. We left Egypt. We were told we're going to receive the Torah. It's a gift from God. You know why there's 2 tablets? The joke is that Hashem asked the Jewish people if they want the Torah, and our response was, how much is it? Hashem said, no charge. So no charge, we'll take 2. So we got 2 tablets. No, but really, it's a gift from Hashem. It's a present, and we understood that. So we were counting in anticipation to receive the Torah. And that's the idea of counting how many days left to receive the Torah. But if you look at the text in the Siddur, you'll find that you're not counting how many days left, you're counting how many days from when you counted. So if last night was 11, 12 last night? If you're counting from what was when you started the count, you're saying it's been 1 day, it's been 2 days, it's been 10 days, it's been a weekend, 3 days, or whatever it is, that you count from. Now you're counting towards something. Let's say you're going on vacation somewhere, right? Where did you go recently? Hawaii. You're counting. You're waiting to get there. So you're counting. In 2 weeks, I'm going to go. Now only 1 week left. 6 days, 5 days. You're anticipating something. So you count how many days left until bingo, you go. We're anticipating to receive the Torah. Why are we counting? It's a 49-day count. 2 days since our count. 3 days since our count. 4 days since our count. Oh, now it's day 49. Okay, tomorrow. That's not the way you usually count. Interesting. Also, whenever you have a special mitzvah, you make the blessing Shechiyanu. Okay, we just had Pesach. When women lit Shabbos candles, they said, or holiday candles, which this year was together, Shabbos and Yontif, they said the Shechiyanu blessing, right? Anytime it's a special mitzvah, it's a rare mitzvah, it's a seasonal mitzvah, you make a bracha Shechiyanu, which is you're thanking God that you reached this milestone, literally, that He gave us life, kept us going, and allowed us to reach this time. And it's exciting. It's a new mitzvah. Sfiras Ha'omer is a special mitzvah. We do it only once a year. Well, one time for 49 days a year. We don't make Shechiyanu. Not at the beginning, not in the middle. We don't make Shechiyanu on this mitzvah, which again is very strange. So why do we have, or what is the significance of this mitzvah, which is so different in so many ways? The answer lies in the following secret, if you will. That the mitzvah Sfiras Ha'omer is not just to count how many days left, but much more than that. It's about working on our own characteristic traits. It's working on our emotions. This is a mitzvah which, in addition to just counting on the calendar and anticipation to receive the Torah, it's also the time of the year that we work on refining our character. Whatever area in our life, or areas I should say in our life, could use some improvement, this is the time when we're told to do so. It's the time when we have special help, divine help, to be able to do it. There's a systematic way, as we'll discuss, of achieving it. And that's in addition to the actual count, and there's a blessing and it's a mitzvah. But in addition to that, we have this concept of refining ourselves. Right? I mean really refining ourselves. Not like the guy that went to a bar and he had a drink, and when he finished the first cup, he asked for a second cup and a third cup, and after the fourth cup, he took the glass and threw it at the bartender in a rage. And the bartender was so upset, he's like, oops, I lost my temper. I'm so sorry, I'm embarrassed, I'm ashamed. He says, okay, it happens, go home. Comes back the next week, and again, he orders one drink, a second drink. After 4 or 5 drinks, he throws the glass in the guy's face. It shatters, he's upset, and he's like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry, I lost my temper, I'm embarrassed, I feel so bad, I feel awful. And the next week, after like 6 weeks of doing this, The bartender looks at him and says, listen, instead of feeling so awful and whatever, why don't you go get some help? You're not welcomed here anymore. So he leaves. 6 months later, he shows up. Oh, he's back. And he has a drink and another drink and a fourth and a fifth. Takes the cup and he throws it at him. And the guy's like, I thought you went to get help. I thought you were getting therapy all these last 6 months. It didn't work. He said, of course it worked. He said, what do you mean? You threw it. I threw it, but I don't feel bad anymore. I don't feel... Point is, we're talking about real change. It's not just counting numbers. It's not just counting how many days have passed since the Eimer. It's in addition to all this, we're counting to receive the Torah. We're refining ourselves. We're getting ready to be able to be worthy, if you will, to receive the Torah. Now, something else happened in this era between Pesach and Shavuos, and that was a terrible plague in about the year 130 or so of the Common Era. There was a great Tana, a great sage. Rabbi Akiva was his name. Rabbi Akiva had many students, 24,000 students. Now, Rabbi Akiva's story is a very interesting story. When he was a young man, he got a job as a shepherd for a very wealthy person by the name of Kalba Savua, very wealthy individual. And he was a shepherd. He took care of his sheep. His boss was a nice guy. He was a learned fellow, a prominent person in the city, very charitable, extremely charitable. There are stories about how charitable he was. And he was a shepherd. Now, this Kalba Savua, this boss of his, has a daughter. Her name was Rachel. And Rachel decided she wants to marry this shepherd. Now, her father had other ideas for her. He intended that she should marry someone from a very great lineage, someone who is of great importance. I think it was his only daughter. And that's what he wanted. But she decided that she's going to marry this person. So she goes, and secretly they got married. Okay, now her father found out and he was livid. Okay, really, really upset. He went and banished her from his whole estate. He actually gave her like a hut at the end of his estate. You're welcome to live here. I'm not supporting you. I'm not giving you anything. It was literally. They were lying down on straw. And once lying on the straw, a piece of the straw bed got into her hair. And Akiva felt very bad. Here's the daughter. She grew up in great riches and great wealth. And they're married. And he can't provide even a bed. Nowhere near to what she had before. And he felt very bad. And he told her, I promise you that one day I'm going to give you a crown made out of gold. And on this crown, there'll be carved out Yerushalayim. She said, relax. Before we got married, there was a condition that she made. I'm going to marry you. But the condition is, I want you to go study Torah. Now, Akiva was from a poor family. He was a descendant of converts from Edom, the lineage of Esav. Okay, but the children of converts. And he was not learned at all. In fact, he didn't even know how to read or write. And she said, go learn. So he said, okay. And he went to study. And he started from the beginning. Now, at 40 years old, it's maybe a little bit difficult to start from scratch and to sit in the yeshiva with people that are a quarter your age or younger. And he did. He learned how to read, and then he learned Chumash, and then Mishnah. Well, he was one of the authors of the Mishnah, but he learned Jewish law. And he became a very great sage, and he had many students. And thousands, actually, 24,000 students. And without getting into all the details right now, but when he finally came home, he rewarded his wife with a crown that had Yerushalayim engraved around it. He was the leader of his generation, scholarly speaking. Okay, it says that Mishnah, Tosefta, Sifri, all of these great works come from the base medrash, from the house of study of Rabbi Akiva. His house of study produced tremendous Jewish literacy. Tremendous. This is in the year about 130 of the Common Era.
1930?
Not 1930, but we're now 2019 according to the Common Count. So this is, just under 2,000 years ago. He was born 50 years before the destruction of the Beis Hamikdash, give or take. L'chaim, on coffee. So, 24,000 students. But a terrible thing happened. During this period between Pesach and Shavuos, an epidemic broke out, and these students died. Not some students, not majority of the students, all of the students died. Okay, they had, the Gemara tells us they had a askara, it's diphtheria. There's a vaccine for it, but unfortunately they all died. So here you have a fellow, at 40, began his journey of study. He's 64 now. He reached the top, if you will, and all of his students, 24,000 of them, died. Okay, in 49 days, give or take. It's more than 730 funerals a day. Okay, of his students. Terrible time. Why did this happen? So the Talmud tells us because they didn't have proper respect for one another. Now, I did a class on this a few days ago. You could see it on YouTube or Facebook. But of why this happened and the details and so on and so forth. But just briefly, they loved each other so much, the students, and they understood the teachings of their teacher, Rabbi Akiva, differently from each other. And they decided, we want to make sure that our friend understands it too. Let's assume you and I are having a discussion about politics, okay? And I think that you're wrong. If I don't care about you, so go, you have a wrong opinion, well, enjoy life. But if I really love you, I want you to get it right. I want you to, I want you to understand that your way is off. So I tried to convince you out of love. And sometimes a little bit too much. I feel bad that you're misguided. So the students, out of love, were so insistent with their friends to understand what Rabbi Akiva said, my way, that it came across as not so respectful. Okay, not so respectful. It's a problem. But why do you need a plague? Because they are students, and these great sages of such a high level, they're held to a very strong standard. So Hashem is expecting from them as role models, as leaders, to have the highest level of respect for one another. And because they didn't, and again, there's other factors here, but there was a plague. And all 24,000 of them died. And this took place in this era between Pesach and Shavuos, which should have been a pretty spiritual time, an auspicious time. We're getting ready to receive the Torah. We are counting. We're improving ourselves. But unfortunately, it was marred. It was ruined with this time. And by the way, there are some laws of mourning that nationally, as Jewish people, that we observe during this time. We don't do any weddings in this era between Pesach and Shavuos. We don't get haircuts. We don't listen to live music or go to concerts. There's a line outside it's around 2 blocks long. We don't go to concerts on during this era because it has that sadness during this time. The Medrash tells us a story. There once was a fellow, simple guy. He did some kind of crime, and he ended up in jail. The king was going for a stroll. He was thinking a little bit, and he wanted to see what are the people like in his jails. And he went to one of the jails, and he started to talk to the guys. And the conversations that he's having, I guess he felt it was safe. He could talk to these people. And one guy, he liked him. And they're talking, and the king came back, and he found him to be very intelligent, and he enjoyed the conversation with him. So the king is talking with this convict in jail. And after a few weeks, a few months, the king says, listen, I have 2 things to tell you. Very soon, I'm going to get you out of this jail. I'll free you. And number 2, 50 days after that, you're going to marry my daughter, the princess. You're going to become my son-in-law.
Wow.
I said, okay, interesting. The guy left. The king left. King comes back a little later, and true to his words, he frees him. The moment he's set free, the guy starts to count. He says, 1 second, this is real. He took care, he fulfilled, his first promise. The king did what he said. He's going to do a second one too. So in 50 days, I'm getting married. He's all excited. Starts to count. The Medrash says, similarly, the Jewish people. We were in Egypt. We were slaves. We were, let's just call it the lowest class of society. Suffered, persecuted, and so on. And Hashem comes and says, you're going out of Mitzrayim and you're getting the Torah. So the moment we got out of Mitzrayim, we said, hey, Torah, let's get counting. Let's see how long it's going to take. I mean, let's see when it's going to happen. Let's get ready. And they knew that in 50 days, they're going to receive the Torah on Shavuot. So they started to count. People, before a wedding, young people, get ready by planning and doing registries and buying stuff for the house, important things. But there's another important thing you have to do. And that is get into the right mindset that you're going to be living with another person, that your life is going to be joint, that you have a responsibility, that it's not all about you, that you have to be a little less selfish, that you have to focus on the other person before yourself. There's preparations in the mindset, in the emotions, in the attitude before a person gets married. So the Jewish people said, if we are going to receive the Torah from Hashem, which is compared to a marriage between God and the Jewish people, we have to get ready. And we have to get ready improving ourselves, becoming a little bit more refined. You know, being in Egypt for decades, many decades, has an impact. And the Jewish people had a lot of impurity, we'll call it. They weren't all that refined. We had a lot of redeeming factors, but at the same time, we had a lot of impurities. In Kabbalah, it's called, we reached the 49th level of impurity. It was so low that Hashem had to pull us out. Stay there a little longer, we'd end up in the 50th gate. And that's really, it's a problem. And Hashem pulled us out. But now we're going to go receive the Torah. So we said, hey, he took us out. We're going to get the Torah. Let's prepare. Let's work on our midos. Let's work on our characteristics. Let's try to refine ourselves. Let's become emotionally a little bit better. Let's get along with one another. Let's work on our own pride and our own self-centeredness and our own anger, whatever aspect of a person we're trying to improve and to grow and to become better. Okay, so to put it the way the Zohar says it, when the Jewish people were in Egypt, we were under the domain of other things, which included impurities. Egypt was not a holy place, and it impacted us in some way. So leaving Egypt, says the Zohar, we started not just a count, how many days, but we started an internal process of change, of self-development, of growing. There's a beautiful mashal, a parable, from the previous Rebbe. The Frierdiker Rebbe, the sixth Lubavitch Rebbe, says the following story. There was once a king who he heard, says the king of Poland, he heard that the Jewish people, they have on Shabbos a delicacy called kishke. Okay? Now, real kishke, it's the intestines, really the inside of an animal, the skin of the inside of the animal. It's stuffed with all different good meats and fats and whatever else, and it's cooked. And we eat it. And it tastes very good. So this king of Poland, he heard about it, and he decided he wants to try it, and he did. He was invited to some of his Jewish friends. He tried it. It was delicious, unbelievable. So he told the chef, I need this kishke stuff. Kishke, it's not exactly a Polish food. How do you make kishke? So this top royal chef goes to the house of the rabbi, the chief rabbi, and he meets with the Rebbitzin, and she tells him exactly how to make kishke. Put this amount of salt, and this amount of oil, and this amount of the whole thing. Fine. He's an experienced chef. He knows exactly what to do. He goes back to the palace, and he prepares a feast for the king, and he has this kishke that he wants. So the king sits down with a knife and a fork, and he's all ready. And it smells. Okay, maybe it smells. He eats it and he spits the whole thing up. It's disgusting. I never tasted anything so bad in my life. What did you do wrong? And the chef says, I did exactly what she told me. I mean, exactly. I don't know what could have went wrong. He runs back to the Rebbetzin and says, I did your recipe. I gave it to the king. A, it stinks, and B, the taste is awful. She's like, well, tell me what you did. And he tells her what he did. She says, 1 second. You didn't clean out the intestines before you put in the stuff. You got to clean out all the dirt. You can't just put it in there. It's going to stink. Previous Rebbe says like this: you could have the greatest kishke, the greatest recipe, and the best food. If you don't clean up first, it's going to stink. So we're going to get the Torah on Shavuos. It's the greatest gift to humanity. But we have to clean up before. We have to get ready. We have to count. We have to work on ourselves step by step by step to improve, to change, to get rid of those negative things that mar us. And that's the idea of Sfira. It's counting, but it's improving ourselves. It's growing, it's trying to get better. Reb Chaim Vital, another great Kabbalist, says that Torah is here to tell you how to fill up the vessel. Okay? But you have to bring the vessel. For the most part in Torah, minus a few exceptions, you don't find emotional mitzvahs. You don't find commandments which tell you have to feel a certain way or you're not allowed to feel a certain way. For the most part, there are exceptions like loving God, having fear of God, love your fellow like yourself. But for the most part, if you have certain tendencies, you're not committing a sin. If you're very, very selfish, it's not a sin. If you act on it, it's sinful. If you're fearful, but you believe in God, it's not a sin. It's not good, and it could lead to a lot of problems. But where do you find that we have to work on our emotions? We have to improve our personality. Each person according to their needs. That's something which is special to the time of Sfira. The Apter Rav was nicknamed the Ohev Yisrael, the lover of the Jewish people. He was a man, one of the early Rebbes, who was very, very loving for people. He did whatever he could to help people out. At one time, he came to a city, and for Shabbos, and an argument broke out. People said, of course, I want the Rebbe to stay with me. I want the Rebbe to stay with me. So it boiled down to a few different people, and really two people. One was very, very religious, careful, and extremely meticulous about what he brings into his house as far as food goes. And he was known to be this very, very pious, he's very, very holy and religious. And the second guy was fine, he was religious too. But the difference was the first guy was very proud. And let's call it borderline arrogant. And all about me, and I'm the greatest, I'm the most important, and I'm... Second guy was not considered to be as religious, the greatest, the holiest, the most devout, but he was humble. And after they couldn't figure out where the Rebbe is going to stay, they told the Apter Rav, you're going to decide. And the Apter Rav went to the second guy. And everyone was shocked. Yeah. 1 second. You're going to eat in his house, but the other guy is more strict on his kosher. The other guy is more spiritual. He said, and get this, the Gemara says about, the Talmud says about a arrogant person, that I can't, says God, so to speak, live with this person. There's no room for me. He's full of himself. Yeah. But the humble person, Hashem is living with him. So if it's comfortable for God, said the Apter Rav, it's comfortable for me too. I'd rather stay with him. The idea is that when it comes to personal development and refinement and trying to grow, it's something which this time of Sfira is when we're told to do it. We're always trying to improve. We're always trying to grow. But we have special abilities during this time now between Pesach and Shavuos to do so. Now, there's a system here. There's 7 general midas, 7 general emotions. It's faculties or parts of the soul, if you will, expressions of the soul. And every week, 49 days is 7 weeks. Every one of these weeks, we work on another one of these midas in detail. The first week, which began on Pesach, was chesed, which is kindness. Kindness, love, giving, all of the things that go into that category. And we're dealing with improving that. Okay? Am I doing the right thing because I love to do it or because I have to do it? Am I being nice to my friends? Am I being giving? Am I being kind? All this goes into the idea of chesed, of kindness. Okay? The next week is gevura, which is discipline, self-control, fear, severity. That whole family of emotions. Am I serving Hashem because I'm scared not to? Right? One guy goes to work because he loves to work. He likes what he's doing. The other guy goes to work because he's afraid if he doesn't, he gets fired. Okay, it's 2 different emotions. Huh? 3. I'm serving Hashem because I want to or because I'm scared if I don't. It's different attitudes. But we take apart within the person the issues within myself that I need to improve, and we work on it. We try to become a little bit more patient with somebody. We try to become a little bit more caring, a little bit more sensitive. And systematically we work and try to improve. Then there's a third week, which is Tiferes. Tiferes is beauty, where you could blend both of them together. Okay? I know the importance of having kindness, and I also know the importance of having some restraint, of having some respect, of giving someone their space. There's a constant aspect that a person has to work on themselves to grow, to improve during these 7 weeks. But let's talk a little bit about how you do this practically. A person says, sorry, this is who I am. That's my personality. I'm not a kind person, or I'm an arrogant person, or I crave whatever, attention, whatever it is. A person says, that's who I am. I can't change. Especially, we're not talking about be nice to your friend. We're talking about internally, emotionally feel nice. Be good-hearted, right? We're not talking about don't steal. We're saying don't want to steal. Don't be jealous. These elements of our emotions, we have to improve them, we have to work on them. But a person says, sorry, what should I do? I can't help it. I can't, that's who I am. They use that as an excuse. So there's a story about a girl who was trying to get engaged. She was trying to date guys and get married and build a home. And somehow, every person that she dated, the word got out that she is selfish, and it never advanced beyond a few dates. And she was having a very hard time, and she was starting to get worried, will she be able to get married? So she came to the Rebbe for a blessing, for advice, asking the Rebbe, what should I do? The Rebbe told her, she was in a dormitory in a school, the Rebbe told her, go to school. And during lunch, when you come to your table, don't just bring for yourself food. I want you to bring for all of the other friends at your table. Go out of your way and bring something for them. Go out of your way and offer to help them. Serve, clean, help out. And when you do this, you're going to cause or develop within yourself some kindness, some selflessness. Doing something for someone else will cause that to happen. The Sefer HaChinuch brings that achar ha'pa'ulos nimshachim halavaves, which means after the actions flow the hearts. If you're kind and you're nice, you'll start to feel kinder and feel nicer. If you are pleasant, friendly, you'll feel that way as well. So what begins as I have to force myself to do it and break that smile causes a person to be happier. Okay, and they say, well, it's not me. It's not who I am. It may not be who you are now, but these days of Sfira, these 49 days, these 7 weeks, are our opportunity and really our responsibility to improve them. And improve it starts with action. Do what you can, act on it, develop those habits, and you'll see it'll bring change within yourself. It'll make you a kinder person. And just a piece of advice. Whenever you try to do something, a change to improve, somebody once asked the Rebbe, he takes on all these good resolutions, right? It was his birthday and he said, I'm going to take a diet, or whatever example. Never going to eat carbs again, ever, okay? Or some other resolution, okay? He's going to exercise every single day, or he's going to learn Torah every single day. He's going to shul 3 times a week, 3 times a day, every day. He takes on all these great resolutions, and it feels great. But after, I don't know, a week, 2 weeks, a month, it peters out. It's over, okay? So the diet's starting tomorrow, the perpetual tomorrow, right? All these good resolutions, these ideas, they don't last. What should he do? So the Rebbe gave the following advice. The Rebbe said, take resolutions with a time limit. Tell yourself, for the next 2 weeks, or month, or week, or day, whatever it is, I'm going to do this and this behavior. It's the week of kindness, I'm going to do this. This week is discipline, gevura, I'm going to refrain from something. Okay? I'm doing it for a week. And if, when that week is over, hopefully you could extend it. Do it for another week, maybe 2 weeks. What happens is day 3 or day 4, when you feel it's too hard, you tell yourself it's only 3 more days, only 4 more days, and then I'm done. This is not indefinitely, right? He took a diet. He's going to eat healthy forever. Say you do it for 30 days. And day 20, you really have a craving. You tell yourself, you know what, in 10 days, I'm going to have this. It's easier, right? He's tired. He doesn't want to go to shul. He's in his bed. He can't get himself out. Well, tell yourself, this was a commitment I made for a week. In a week, I could sleep in. So take on these resolutions. Try to bring about this change, because when you do it, it leads to emotions. But don't bite more than you could chew. Take a piece. Every mitzvah is a step on its own, a rung in its ladder. And this answers our questions that we began with. Why are we counting backwards?
Backward.
In other words, how many days from? Because that's what it's about. We're saying, oh, it's already 3 days since we got out of Mitzrayim. The next part of his promise is going to happen. It's already 1 week since we got out of Mitzrayim. It's about to happen. We know that on the 49th, it's going to happen. Like the guy that was in jail, the king said at day 50, you'll marry my daughter. So it's counting and saying, oh, it's already. And you don't make Shechiyanu, because Shechiyanu is something which you do on a mitzvah, which is an amazing milestone. You're still building that milestone. You're still developing it. You're still growing. It's about internalizing. Okay? And this one mitzvah, it's the whole count. You have to count the whole thing. You can't make a mitzvah for one thing. It's only the beginning. It's a block of a mitzvah. I want to wish everyone a lot of success in improving ourselves, especially our midos, in preparing for Shavuos, where we receive the Torah and we're able to internalize it. And every year we receive it again on a much deeper level. And the more we prepare, the better we'll be. Thank you.